Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
This is Wayne Bennett, and this is the Easy Come, Easy Go podcast. This is episode number 22, and I'd like to welcome our guest today, old boy, East Beckley boy from Worley Road, down here in Beckley, played in the Gibo golf tournament yesterday. Mr. Andy Lawson. Welcome, Andy.
Hey, good morning, Wayne. Good to be here.
I don't think you're taking any hardware back to Kentucky with you, are you, you want?
Well, it was supposed to be a check. Didn't I get my appearance fee? Did y'all give me an appearance fee?
It's probably in the mail, I think. But you grew up there. I'm not going to ask any personal questions that you can't answer, but who was your first girlfriend?
Well, you know, it's strange because we had a conversation just a little while ago about the early days in East Beckley. And I had a crush on, I don't know if she's listening. Is she going to be listening to that?
I don't know.
Well, it was Brenda Wilson.
Oh, boy.
And, gosh, you know, I haven't seen her, obviously, in many years. But looking back, that was one of my first girlfriends. Hey, Brenda.
Well, I hope she's not scarred for life or anything like that. But, well, since we're on that subject, who was your first date you ever went on?
You know, it's funny because there's two sides to this story. You remember Sandra Young?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Sandra was a sweetie of mine at one time. But that was after she slapped my face one time real hard because I think I was in about the third grade and, you know, I tried to get fresh with her. Well, I didn't do that but once. And she smacked the dog crap out of me. But nonetheless, a month or so later, she and I went skating. We had, I would call that my first official date. We went skating over Arthur skate rink.
Now, how many kids were in your family?
Oh, well, that made me think hard on that one. There were 8 of us altogether, 8 siblings, 3 sisters and 5 brothers. Oh, well, 4 brothers and myself.
And you lived right there beside the church. Did you ever go to that church?
Yeah, not out of a conviction, but just sort of, well, the church is here, and why shouldn't we be going there? And,
it's right next door.
And it's right next door. We don't have to, walk all the way up to the Methodist church. But we kind of gave Sunday school a go there, or at least I did, for a few Sundays. But, they were Pentecostal type church, and I never did quite get into, all the.
It's a little more hardcore.
It's a little hardcore, and I never got a hold of it real good, so that didn't last too long. But
as a kid, they called you AC. How did that name come about?
Well, my initials AC.
AC. I see. I didn't know that.
Don't ask me my middle name. I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
If I do, I'll have to shoot you.
What kind of childhood you had growing up at East Beckley, going to Sylvia School? How would you describe it?
My childhood is mixed at best because, I'll always remember the friends. I like to think back on this as the freedom we had as kids. And, it's kind of unheard of today that parents would let their children go climb cliffs and stay out late at night, after dark. It's unheard of nowadays that a kid would stay out after dark, but fishing, hunting, rabbit hunting, camping out in the Great Flats, and there's just a lot of freedom involved. Then on a personal level, our family was poor. My dad was a coal miner, and of course he struggled with alcohol, so it was off and on work. There were good times, there were bad times, but probably like a lot of coal miner families, if you think about it. But there were good times and bad times, but all I remember are the good ones.
What was your mom's maiden name?
My mom's maiden name was Basinski. She was Russian. Both her parents, she was the only child, and both her parents were Russian, and came over, on at Ellis Island back, I think it was in 1936, I believe. But she was born here, and
so there were 8 of you, but all the kids went to college, and didn't they? Or
Well, a large percentage of us, and we can owe that strictly to my oldest sister, Linda, who set the example. Followed by Dale, then by myself, then by Donna, then by Sherry, Steve, and Rodney. We were all college grads, but Linda started it all. I think basically, Wayne, for the very reason I just spoke about, growing up, poor, they gave you a desire to be better. I mean, for the whole family, it's like, we're going to do better than our parents did, which I think every kid has that feeling to a certain extent. But we were especially inspired. So after Linda was able to go graduate from college, even got her master's, even got her doctorate degree, that just inspired the heck out of the rest of us.
What about Sylvia's school? What are some teachers that you had that might stand out, good or bad?
Well, there's two. One that taught me my name. I know that sounds strange, but that's Miss Williams, first grade. I have to tell the story how she taught me my name, and that was the fact that probably my first, second day there, I went up and got up and went back to the water fountain and was getting a drink, and I kind of heard in the background somebody saying, "Andrew, would you please take your seat?" I just kept drinking. "Andrew, would you please take your seat?" Finally, she came back there and kind of snatched me and said, "Andrew, you need to take your seat." I said, "Miss Williams, my name's not Andrew. I'm AC." I know that's the truth now. That's the first time that I really have been referred to by Andrew. And it may sound strange. But so she taught me my name, and I'm forever grateful for that. And then, of course, no one can forget Mr. Sims, eighth grade, who, taught us all how to shoot hoops. Remember, he used to tell you, that's a snowbird, Lawson. That's a snowbird. You got to make those snowbirds. And so basketball, of course, and then in West Virginia history.
He sure stressed that. I remember on Fridays we take West Virginia history tests, and if you made 100, you got out 10 minutes early or something. And man, I'd kill for that.
That'd be true.
And you wanted to go on the horseshoe, didn't you?
I did.
And a lot of the criticism that Mr. Sims had received for his style of teaching, what subjects he taught pretty well, I thought. And now when you got, you had a typical childhood as far as sports was concerned. You played Magic League football.
Yeah, again, back to some of those younger memories. Little League baseball, gosh, we played pretty much every year. We were eligible all the way into Babe Ruth.
Who were your coaches in Little League? It may have been East and respect.
The only one I can remember is for the Tigers was Coach Stepkowski.
Big Stepkowski.
And his assistant was Hensley, an East Beckley boy, his father. Hinkley or Hensley, I really can't think of that name too clearly, but that was on the Tigers, and don't remember any of the other coaches per se.
Frank Rodriguez was the coach at East Beckley, wasn't he?
He was now that you mention it. He sure was. And that was great. Those were some great Major League football. And I know you played, and we had a little dynasty going there for a while.
Yeah, when I was a year behind you age-wise. It really wasn't a year, but the way the cutoff date was. And the last year that I played, you were already on. And it was the first year that they let Mike's play in the youth football league. And we had W. Hughes and a few of those guys came out and played with us. And it was, but a lot of our team, we were called the East Beckley Wildcats, but we had a lot of guys from Shady Spring too, because Shady Springs didn't have a program. But it was a very successful run, and Frank Rodriguez was a pretty tough guy.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Now, when you got to high school, you didn't play sports in high school, right?
Went out for football my freshman year, and didn't see a lot of action at all. Practice, didn't hold practice season with them, didn't see much action, and kind of felt I was getting looked over. And of course, the competition was tougher. There's no question about that. So I gave it up. Yeah, I did not go ahead and play on the squad or anything during the season.
And sometime during in the high school years, you got interested in drama, thespians?
Yeah, I did. I think that was probably the last, probably my senior year. I think more than anything when we moved over to the Stanford school. I think that was our senior year. Yeah, just kind of wanting to do something different, and hey, I might be Hollywood bound. I might be missing out on something. So I got interested in theater and decided I'd give that a go. Actually went to WVU in drama. Got my degree in drama.
At Woodrow, who was the drama teacher? Who was Miss Brown?
I really can't think back on that. I can't remember. I remember Miss Davis, the art teacher there.
Now, were you in any productions at Woodrow?
No, maybe some minor classroom productions, but in fact, I don't recall us having any major productions. We probably did, but I can't remember.
It seems like I remember somewhere along the line were you ever in a Cat in a Hot Tin Roof?
Well, yeah, we did that at a local level. As a matter of fact, out of school, that was kind of a Beckley group got together.
Curtain Callers.
There you go. That's what it was. Yeah, myself, Bill Bear, Sue Davis, David Johnson. Yeah, we kind of formed our own little group, and again, we did a few productions there at the old Palace.
Yeah. Now, you were Brick in the Cat on the Hot Tin Roof?
Yeah.
Who was Maggie?
Maggie was Sue Davis.
Okay.
Susan Davis.
And so you did enough there to pursue a drama degree at WVU?
Yeah.
Now, when you were in high school and junior high, maybe, I don't know, but you got into a program that might have helped you in college as far as finances. I know you were active in the Upward Bound program.
Sure did. We, as we were driving up there, as a matter of fact, or over here from Kentucky, we kind of, we drive by the road that takes you down to Institute, which is where the old West Virginia Institute of Technology was. Well, Montgomery, I should say. It's not the Institute of Montgomery. And I was telling my wife about that program. That's where we had it. That's where that Upward Bound program was in Montgomery at WVIT. And there again, a great summer of meeting new friends, getting inspired to go to college, and because we attended college classes while we were there, but
you have to go every summer.
I think I went 2 summers, Wayne. I think it's what I'm looking back on that. I think I went 2 summers, not every summer. 2 summers.
So we know your family, was poor, and you're going to WVU. How did was it all scholarships or money? Or?
It was all scholarships. Well, you always have to borrow some money, and I did borrow some money, but I got a West Virginia State scholarship that covered my tuition and fees, and I just so that was the books and living expenses. There was loans that I paid off for the rest of my life. Not really, but it took me a long time to pay them off. I'm like every student that picks up those loans.
It didn't cost us much to go.
It sure did.
It does now.
It sure did. As I recall, maybe $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 a year you could get through the school. Especially if you were a little bit frugal. But God knows what it is nowadays.
Now, the acting, were you ever, Honey in the Rock was coming around at that time. Were you ever in Honey in the Rock?
I worked at Honey in the Rock at least 3 seasons, maybe 4. Not as an actor. Well, I did. I was a standby actor, stand-in, and I stood in on a couple of evenings when the main characters weren't there. But I worked as a stagehand more than anything. That was my primary role, and boy, those were some fun years too. I mean, we got to meet professional actors, and just a lot of camaraderie. When you do a production like that every night for 60 days or whatever, you just make a lot of friendships. And
did they just have Honey in the Rock at that time, the play musical, or did they have Hatfields and McCoys then?
We had Honey in the Rock, which was about the Hatfields and McCoys. Actually, I was there when both of them were going on.
Okay.
And it's interesting thing about that is my sister Linda was one of the original dancers in Honey in the Rock, and that was several years before I got involved. But Linda was one of the original dancers in that troupe. But I was involved with Honey in the Rock and the Hatfields.
Did you ever meet Dick Benjamin, or was it Dick Benjamin? No, I can't think of he's an actor. I can't remember the guy's name. I thought his name was Benjamin. Yul Cornett.
Yul Cornett. He was the director and ran the theater for several years there. Yeah, Yul was the one that I worked with.
If you had who, as far as movies or television performers, who would you list as your favorite actor or actress?
Oh,
if you had one, had to pick one.
I don't know. I couldn't say. There's so many good actors, actresses out there, and it's tough to measure them by. I really don't. I don't know them.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say the best. I always liked Paul Newman. I never thought he was always the best actor, but I just kind of liked the movies and the roles he played in. And then, I mean, as far as a female, you can't deny that Meryl Streep might be the best one that ever came around.
Very good. Yeah.
What about if you had a choice, you could only pick one movie to watch the rest of your life? What would be the one movie that you would pick?
Oh gosh, that's another tough one, daggone it. But
you got to answer this.
I got to answer this. I can't say I don't know to everything. How about the Shawshank Redemption?
That's a good one. That's a good one. I still watch it all the time.
Yeah, and that one always left a mark with me.
Yeah, that was worth. I could see that. I would say myself, The Wizard of Oz. I can watch. I've been watching it for 70 years, and I think I could still watch it every year.
Well, the Lord of the Rings series too was pretty daggone good.
I just never did get in. Even the books, I never did get into it too much. But how would you describe your days at WVU? Now, you went there as a drama major.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How would you describe your years there? Were you in any major performances there?
Yeah. I was in a couple shows there. I was in another Tennessee Williams play there. I'm thinking, and the old age is catching up with me, but it was a Tennessee Williams play, and again, but I can't think of the name. It'll come to me.
Did you get your degree?
I did get a degree in theater, and I pursued theater for a short while after I graduated. I chased a few jobs into Washington, D.C., and then decided I'd go south to Atlanta and see if there was anything happening down there. And there were some theaters that I joined, again, non-paying, just, theater groups that had gotten together. But in Atlanta, I decided I probably needed to maybe go to work for a living.
I see.
And so I took an opportunity that I didn't know existed. It didn't exist in West Virginia, but in Georgia, there was a private law school in Atlanta where once you had a bachelor's degree in 3 years, you could get a law degree, and I could go to school at night, which gave me the opportunity to work, and I'd gotten married, and Matthew, our son, had come along. So, I decided I needed a career change. And so I went to law school, got my law degree, and
what type of law?
I passed the bar. Well, it was just a general practice law.
Okay.
It was just, I passed the Georgia bar. Matter of fact, I'm still a member this day of the Georgia bar. Still an active member, although I haven't practiced in years. I did practice law for 2 or 3 years in Georgia before I took a job. While I was in law school, I was working at a printing company in an plastics operation. And after Matthew was born, I saw an ad in the paper. They were looking for a specialist that did the same kind of printing that I had done for this company while I was going to law school, but I'd have to leave Atlanta. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'm the law practice. I was making some money, and I was having a few clients, but it was I hung up my own shingle. I didn't decide to go with another firm or anything. So I decided to interview for this other job over in North Augusta, South Carolina area, which is near Augusta, Georgia, obviously. But I took that job in manufacturing, and I've kept took my continuing education hours for years and years and years, every year until I moved to Kentucky. As a matter of fact, you don't have to take those CLE hours when you're out of state. If you're not representing Georgia clients, and which I don't, but I continued with my law education, but started working in manufacturing, and a different, certainly a different occupation, but they overlapped in a lot of ways. Understanding the law and how labor law and contracts law and that sort of thing, understanding all that helps you in any business you're in. And so the law degree has supported me my whole career, although I haven't practiced, for 25 years or so.
Then you ended up in Renfro Valley, Kentucky.
Renfro Valley, Kentucky. That was kind of a retirement move for me. Well, it was a retirement move for me. Matthew had graduated from Berry College in Georgia and took a job that moved him to the Cincinnati area. April, my youngest daughter, had gone to Austin University and took a job that carried her to Nashville. So I'm working still actually I wasn't in the Augusta area. I was over in the Atlanta area. I was working for a large plastics company there. And with those two kids, out of state, I looked at a job just by chance that was in Renfro Valley, Kentucky. I know that means a lot to people. It's about 70 miles south of Lexington, Kentucky. It put me right between where Matt and April. 2.5 hours probably each direction to either Cincinnati or Nashville. So plus I needed 5 years to retire, and I thought, what the hell, I'm going to get out of Atlanta. Atlanta's awfully busy. Lord knows the traffic and the congestion was about to wear me out anyway. So I took that job.
The airport where it's at.
And went, Renfro Valley, Kentucky was a change of pace. Still, it was a good job. It was a good management level job at a plastics company in that little town that later on folded, and actually they moved the company out of Renfro Valley back to Arkansas where their home office was. And I actually went to Arkansas and worked my last year before retirement. 2015 or 16, and then we settled back in at Kentucky, and we love it there. It's a small town. It reminds you of this area a whole lot. We live on a lake, downsized, don't have a very big home. It's just me and the wife now, and the kids and grandkids when they visit. But we love it there.
You've had some tragedy in your life. Your brothers, are you the only boy left?
I am. I'm the only brother left. The toughest of all will always have to be Rodney, my youngest brother, who drowned at such a young age. And they're all tragedies that they all died. All my brothers died young, except Dale. He was a little older, but still he died. Lung cancer, it's a tough way to go. But losing Rodney at such a young age was just devastating then, and still looking back on it.
I had the pleasure to work with Rodney one summer. We were both working for David Hill Construction, and they always seemed to send me and him out together, and we were kind of hard to keep track of sometimes, some of the things we got into, but he was enjoyable. And you don't remember, what kind of music did you listen to when you were growing up? Basically, what'd you like?
Well, I think I liked folk a lot. Nowadays, of course, I really love the old country music that used to play in the house all the time. That I wasn't that crazy about then, but I love it now. I love all the old songs now. I listen to folk music a lot. When I got involved in the theater, I would listen to some of the show tune music and everything. But it wasn't my music. My music was probably folk. I like the good old Bob Dylan stuff. And later on,
I was a big Motown guy growing up in high school and all that. I loved listening to Motown. But then I'm kind of like you. Somewhere along the line, I developed a liking to. I like classic country, and that's all I listen to in my truck and in my man cave. And kids make fun of me, say that they're not making any new songs.
You listen to Willie's Roadhouse, and it'll just take you back to the good old days.
But I tell you a story. You probably won't remember this, but I don't know why, but some things you just don't forget. I was in a car wreck when I was 19 years old, and got in a car with a young girl was driving too fast, and me and Marvin Harvey had gone down to the Oxford Inn, and it was over Christmas vacation. I was in college, and Marvin was too. And anyway, it had been snowing a little bit. We ended up hitting Bogus Radiator Shop on Prince Street, going 75 miles an hour in a brand new Pontiac. But it put me in the hospital for about 8 days, and I had about 60 stitches up through my skull and had several markings. Almost lost an eye, and had severe concussion. And everybody that was in there got hurt except Marvin, and it's kind of weird. I don't know how he kept from getting hurt, but I was in. About the third night I was in the hospital, and this was on colleges were still on Christmas vacation. The accident happened on January 2nd, and college students were in town and everything. And I was at the Appalachian Hospital, and there had been actually a picture and a story in the paper about our car wreck. Just unusual. Anybody could be going down Prince Street 75 miles an hour. And,
Very unusual.
And a lot of young people there was 6 of us in the car, actually, and everybody got hurt, but more of them. And nobody got killed or anything like that. But
Who was driving? You were driving? No.
No, I was in the back seat, actually, and the girl was driving. And we, about the third night I was in the hospital, they had turned the lights off. I was in my room, and the door opens. I thought I was asleep almost. And you walk in, and you got a music box with you, and you sneaked in the hospital, and you come over, and man, I'm sitting there, my head's shaved, I got a big scar up my skull, and I got cut all to pieces, felt like crap. And he said, Dwayne, you heard the new White Album from the Beatles? And I said, no, I haven't. He said, I got it, you want to hear it? And you played it, there was a tape or something, I don't know what it was, and got about halfway through the first song, and the nurse comes in and runs you out. And I said, oh, I hadn't even heard the White Album from the Beatles, but I think it came out a couple months before. But so I don't know why I ever remember that, but it's just one of those things you can't forget.
So I turned you on to the Beatles, huh? And I don't remember that way, but that's not unusual for me because I don't really remember what I did yesterday. Well, yeah, I played golf yesterday, so
I can tell you what you did yesterday. Well, you're 70 years old, okay? Getting ready to turn 71, and so you know yourself about as well as anybody. What's your greatest strength that you possess that you think I? And this has not been egotistical or anything. I mean, what is your greatest strength?
Well, it sounds like I'm interviewing for a job. Trying to think.
I think I got that from
that's where that came from. I don't know. I've always tried to be as personable as I can to people, treat people, fairly, and no matter what stage of life they're in. Again, I grew up, knocking around on the hard side of town, and I've, of course, lived and worked with some of the, very high professional people, and, I feel like being able to communicate and understand people at all levels of life, and I think that's a good thing. And, I kind of want to be liked, so I like to try my best to leave a good impression on people. If I meet a stranger or someone,
What about a weakness? I mean, what would you admit your weakness is?
Well, my greatest one, in my old age, I'm getting kind of short fused in this friendliness that I'm just told you I had as a younger person. Sometimes I just forget that sometimes, and I don't think I probably live in the moment the way I should and give people the time and attention that I should right now. So I think I'm kind of quick to move on. I find myself being so busy doing nothing that I don't stop, and I use the cliche, smell the roses these days. So that's probably just not taking the time to enjoy things like I used to.
Well, you mentioned earlier that, the freedom as a child and, just coming and going and staying out a little later and kind of set your own boundaries. What are you most grateful for? I mean, if you had to choose, other than your wife and family, what are you most grateful for?
Actually, sometimes I think it is my childhood and upbringing. Again, the things we mentioned before, having to struggle and knowing what it is to have to work and struggle to have a life, enjoy life, combined with understanding and knowing the freedom that's out there, and how you don't have to live in a world and be afraid of everything like a lot of times we are now. We're just we're terrified and saying the wrong thing, and everybody's so politically correct. You don't know what to say to people, but just knowing what it is to be free and having friends and laugh and fight with your friends, and then the next day you're still out fishing with them, and again, growing up, that freedom, something I'll never forget, and I carry it with me everywhere I go.
What about a bucket list? What would you like to do you haven't done? go somewhere or what?
Well, me and my wife do some RVing now. We're kind of hung up on Florida. So actually, I plan to maybe take a summer, or excuse me, a winter, and do some RVing out west. Only until recently have I thought that I might like to even do a trip to Europe. My wife has a friend in England, and of course I'd love to visit Scotland. My wife's history is in Scotland, so maybe do some international travel. Again, to England or Scotland. Actually, my mom's family is over somewhere in Russia. Don't know any of them, but Mike could just show up over there one day and say, "Hey,
Like
can we
Chevy
spend the night?"
Chase.
Yeah, like Chevy Chase in the movie. I'm your cousin. You didn't know that? And which I did join one of the heritage sites, and so I will get a link, constantly getting these updates on people you have a DNA match with, and I'm actually getting matched up with people from Belarus and Russia, people obviously have no idea, but somehow genetically we're connected, though. And that's not as important to me as maybe just, of course, I'd like someone who speak English. So it probably wouldn't be Russia, but could be England, could be Scotland or something.
Randy?
A streetcar named Desire.
Okay. Tennessee.
Yeah, I had to think of the name of the production I was in at WVU, and I had to Google it real quickly.
Our time is up, and man, I've enjoyed talking to you, and I know that the guys that grew up around you in East Beckley kind of wondered what happened to you, and they'd like to get back on sync. And I'd like to remind anybody that if you want to be on our podcast, you can contact me at awbennett5050@gmail.com, and you can check us out on Google or Spotify, Automatic, and get you back next time you're in town. We'll get you back and ask you some hard questions. How about that?
Well, that's all right with me. I can always say I don't know again.
There you go.
That's no problem.
But I appreciate you being here and practice the golf. And next year, we may take on a little golf to the Influent Valley, Kentucky, and see how things go. But until next time, I would like to remind everybody, if you're not dead yet, you ain't done yet, and God bless you.